Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon, it's me, Keone Mo, with your 1:30 news update. Some Indigenous leaders are saying the federal budget unveiled yesterday lacks investments into health and education for their communities. The budget froze annual base funding for Indigenous health and social services and for treaty work, which Ottawa says amounts to a 2% cut at a time when most federal agencies face a 15% cut. Métis International Council President Victoria Pruden says there is a fear that cutbacks will hit vulnerable people, but she also says the budget outlines lots of economic opportunities that could benefit Métis people.
We understand what the objective is here, and at the same time, we need to make sure that we're preserving both our economic contribution to Canada and those programs and services that are essential for youth and our most vulnerable people. We cannot lose momentum in terms of our commitment to advocate for Métis governments.
British Columbia Premier David Eby and coastal First Nations have signed a declaration calling on the federal government to maintain an oil tanker ban off the province's north coast. Eby says one oil spill in the area would destroy billions of dollars in economic activity along the coast, with no technology available to clean it up.
This is not, in my opinion, a partisan issue. Conservative leaders like Brian Mulroney, Ronald Reagan, they recognized that some places were too precious to put at risk. And that includes our North Coast. So we call on the federal government to recognize what generations of leaders have, that we need to protect our coast in order to grow our economy.
A new study from UBC Marine Mammals Research Center found high concentrations of forever chemicals in sea otters along BC coast. Jeannie Lynn reports on what this means for our marine mammal population.
Sea otters may be under threat by toxic chemicals produced by urban populations. UBC researchers found that higher concentrations of forever chemicals were found in otters that lived in places like Tofino and Victoria, compared to those that live further up BC coast in isolated areas. Dr. Peter Ross works as an ocean pollution expert at Raincoast Conservation Foundation. He speaks about the impact forever chemicals has on sea otter population in the Pacific Ocean.
PFAS can potentially cause cancer. It can cause reproductive problems. It can cause developmental problems. It can affect the immune system. So they could have health concerns emerge. It might be effects on the reproductive system or vulnerability to disease, etc.
Dr. Ross also mentioned that sea otters' diet makes them more vulnerable to chemical exposure, since they consume large amounts of protein-rich seafood each day. Jeannie Lin, BCIT News.
A long-standing Cloverdale business is receiving recognition from the city for the first time. Reporter Elijah Ford has the latest on the big development of a small store.
Bioped Surrey has been a mainstay in the Cloverdale area for over a decade. The business specializes in foot care and lower limb services, including custom insoles and specialized pain relief. This year, for the first time ever, Bioped Surrey has been nominated for Clovey Awards, which is an annual award ceremony hosted by the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce. The small team has been nominated in 3 different categories. The team is led by Ish Sahembi, who has been personally nominated for 2 of Bioped's potential award wins. Sahembi has been nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year and Young Entrepreneur of the Year. The business has also been nominated for the Small Business Excellence Award. The winners will be announced at the Clovey's Award ceremony tonight at 6 p.m. hosted at Northview Golf Club. Elijah Ford, BCIT News.
Amazon has been ordered to pay a $10,000 fine by a BC regulator because of a failed delivery. They ruled it was not good enough to leave a package on a doorstep or with another person unless the buyer consents. Consumer Protection BC says that a consumer complained about a failed delivery order for electronic equipment under a distance sales contract in August 2024. The decision on October 14th says the unnamed consumer alleged Amazon failed to deliver the item within 30 days, then denied a refund of $580. Amazon suspected the consumer to be committing return abuse due to 3 refund requests within the past year, citing evidence that deliveries had been handed over to a person living at the address. But the case's adjudicator says the word delivery is not defined in BC's Business Practices and Consumer Protection Act, and that Amazon had a duty to deliver the package to the rightful consumer. It says that without the buyer's express agreement, delivery doesn't mean leaving an item with someone else at the address or at a front door or porch. The regulator ordered Amazon to refund the complainant, pay a monetary penalty of $10,000, and was ordered to pay more than $9,000 in legal and investigation costs. BC travel agents are hoping for big spenders from China to return after Beijing decided to resume group tourism to Canada. Glynis Chan is president at Vancouver-based Happy Times Travel and Tour, who says she expects a big boost for local economy after China's decision. The tours were stopped in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. The decision came just days after Prime Minister Mark Carney met with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Destination BC says travel to the province from China is down 45% compared to 2019, but is steadily on the rise. It is already 24% higher than last year. Global Affairs Canada officials say Canada is considering how it can best support Palestinians in Gaza if a future peace deal leads to self-governance. In testimony before the House Foreign Affairs Committee yesterday, Assistant Deputy Minister Alexander Levesque said Ottawa has deployed military personnel to monitor the ceasefire brokered by Washington. They are working out of a building in Israel staffed by officials from countries which support the peace deal U.S. President Donald Trump brokered last month.
We are embedded through civilian and military presence in this group, in this cell, that is there to observe, document the daily occurrences of the ceasefire. The intention is to migrate from this to an international stabilization force.
U.S. President Donald Trump's main and key tool for deploying tariffs faced tough questions from the conservative-led U.S. Supreme Court today. Kelly Malone reports.
The attorney opposing U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs told the Supreme Court hearing that the president has torn up the entire tariff architecture, and that's not something that he has the power to do. Trump used the International Emergency Economic Powers Act for his Liberation Day tariffs and fentanyl-related duties. During the nearly 3-hour hearing, the Supreme Court justices parsed the language in the statute that's known as IEPA, particularly the wording about the president's power to regulate importation and whether that even allows for tariffs. Many Republican-appointed justices voiced skepticism, noting no other president had taken such measures. Kelly Malone, The Canadian Press, Washington.
Clinton Mounties are unmistakably happy they were able to rescue a young moose last week. Police say the moose was trapped behind a fence. Officers, together with the BC Conservation Office Service, were able to gently guide the moose back into the forest. Constable Taylor Sipple says they were glad they were able to let the moose loose and that no one was moose handled in the process. Police say the public should always keep a safe distance from wildlife and report any animals in distress to the RAPP line. And now for some sports. The Vancouver Rise beat the Ottawa Rapid 2-1 in the first leg of their playoff matchup. Right-hander Shane Bieber will return to the Toronto Blue Jays next season. The team says he has exercised his player option for the 2026 campaign. Bieber will serve as one of the anchors of the Blue Jays starting rotation. He made 7 regular season starts for Toronto after being acquired from the Cleveland Guardians at the trade deadline, posting a 4-2 record and a 3.57 earned run average. Bieber was 2-1 in the postseason with a 3.86 ERA. He earned a Game 4 road win against the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series. He pitched in relief in Game 7 and gave up a go-ahead home run to Will Smith in the 11th inning of the Blue Jays' 5-4 loss. Sam Montembeault rebounded from a shaky start to make 38 saves and helped the Montreal Canadiens steal a point in a 5-4 shootout loss to the Philadelphia Flyers. The Habs trailed 3-0 early in the game, but responded with 4 goals in the second period. Head coach Martin St. Louis spoke about the loss.
I think Monty kept us in it after we scored a couple. And we were able to be opportunistic on our chances. But overall, this game, it's probably with the least amount of details we played. It's probably our worst game of the season.
Another sports star has become the victim of a home break-in. Alex Stone reports on the story.
Police in the upscale Oklahoma City suburb of Nichols Hills confirmed to ABC News they responded on Thursday night to a burglary at a home that sources say belongs to Oklahoma City Thunder basketball star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The call came in at around 7:45 in the evening while the Thunder were playing a game. The suspects fled the area before police arrived. It appears nobody was in the home at the time. No arrests have been made. Nichols Hills police say there is, quote, no reason to believe the public is in any danger. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Tennis great Venus Williams is planning to play for a 33rd straight season on the WTA Tour starting in Auckland in January. Organizers of the ASB Classic in New Zealand say the 45-year-old Williams will feature at her January 5th to 11th event. It suggests the 7-time Grand Slam singles champion is preparing for the Australian Open later that month. She has never won the Australian Open, though was twice a beaten finalist. Williams last played in singles at the U.S. Open in August, losing in 3 sets to 11th-seeded Karolina Muchova in the first round. And the New York Jets are undergoing a major rebuild after trading stars Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. Gardner was sent to Indianapolis on Tuesday, and Williams was dealt to Dallas. Jets coach Aaron Glenn and general manager Darren Moe emphasized patience and opportunity. The focus now shifts to future drafts and finding a franchise quarterback. For the weather, make sure to have an umbrella for light rain and a high of 12 degrees and a low of 9. This was Keone Mo for BCI2s with your 1:30 news update.
When I tell people that I studied journalism, they immediately say, oh, you want to be a reporter. But I think, in my case personally, I really want to go into magazines, PR, social media. And I think here at school we learn a lot of skills that allow you to go into that world, because you learn how to write for social media, social content, for websites,